Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Introducing Opsis by Coliance. Opsis is an advanced visibility tool driving smarter and faster decision making. I'm Stuart Power, I'm the Sales Director here at Coliance, and I'm joined today by Chris Cameron from Advisory 146. I've known Chris for some time, since our days at IBM together, and over the last 20 years, Chris has developed software, e-commerce and AI solutions in more than 42 countries. He has led product development training programs to solve some of the most challenging problems in global supply chains. And Chris specialises in operational improvements, supply chain transformation and AI-powered business workflows, and now runs a supply chain advisory firm called Advisory 146. And Chris will tell you in his own words, but they've seen it all when it comes to supply chain disruptions, transformations, and embracing that changing wind of technology that gets involved in those complex supply chains. So, welcome, Chris. Thank you for joining us today.
It's good to be here, Stuart. Thanks. Good to see you again.
And you. So, what we want to look at today, Chris, is Opsis and kind of our business visualization tool here at Coliance. So I wanted to kind of talk about your experience and that question that comes from visibility in people's operations. Kind of where do we start? From your experience, what's missing?
Right. It's there's so many places to get lost in that area, in that question, right? Because it's everybody has an opinion, and it's really about perspective. But what I usually do to try and clean it up a little bit is just ask the question, so what? Because visibility, supply chains, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to drive value with it? Because I've been in so many different projects where people had certain visions and they got visibility, but what could they do with it? They usually drove more work into their day rather than taking some of it out there. So really, that's what where I like to go with it as we start into the whole visibility area is, so what? What are you going to do with that? Is it going to be on the inbound side? And what are you trying to get that visibility to tell you? What specifically are you going to alert your people to so that they can either act or, we're in this new world of AI and data, right? Can I alert my people, have them educate the machine, and then let the machine start to propose things that my people can't see? But you have to start with the end in mind. So what is the deliverable? What's the measurement? And only pick a few to get going, because usually you cross so many different swim lanes. You've got to see upstream to your supplier's supplier, let's say, in some instances. You've got to see down to your customer's customer in other cases. You got to figure out how you're actually going to use it, and then pick one and then move quickly. That's the usual big thing is people sit there and have these 4-year projects building control towers.
As we've seen, yeah.
All right.
So, and obviously, for Opsis has been kind of around in the market now for just over a year. Kind of did a bit of a soft launch, and I know you've been helping us kind of frame some of that. But from the customers that we've engaged in the question they're asking around, and even last week I was at an event and everybody was just asking across their digital supply chain, whether it's digital or physical supply chain, where's my order? It's a simple question, but most can't seem to answer it without hunting across multiple systems.
Yes. And the where's my order question is a good beginning, because that's the first thing you've got to know. And how do you get from today to tomorrow, right? So the first place is, once you know what you want to set up, is how do I get visibility to my order? Because there's always there's a challenge, especially if you're a small to medium business. If you're a big business who can make your suppliers do do the things you need to do in the workflow and provide data that you need, that's great. But that doesn't happen so much, right? It's really about your small to medium sized businesses, the SMB space, that's saying, hey, my supplier tells me he's not doing anything. He's not going to a web portal and typing in his or her commit date and their shipping date, because they have 3 or 4 other systems behind it. In fact, sometimes the funniest part is when you go there to work it out and say, okay, I need this visibility, you sometimes find out that your supplier doesn't even have it in their own house. The warehouse can't see the sales system, and vice versa. Right. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of challenges like that as you go through, and just giving someone a portal to put in your data is like, there you are again, another customer asking for a portal, and it actually drives cost into the where's my order question.
Okay. So, yeah, got to just summarize in there. I guess it's not just inefficient, it's also risky. All of those delays are going to have a negative impact on your customers' experience, your brand reputation, your SLAs and compliance needs. So I guess visibility is not nice to have; it's essential, isn't it?
It really is, especially as you scale. As you start to scale, and then you suddenly realize you didn't have the visibility you thought you had, because now you need it in a shorter term. And so that drives it, because those KPIs that you mentioned, their lack thereof start to become evident when you realize that, hey, I didn't realize it would take this long to get visibility on when my PO is shipping, let alone where it is after it's shipped. Because the cycles move much faster than the data, and that happens. That's a real challenge.
Okay, well that kind of brings us nicely to the purpose of this webinar in terms of Opsis being this visibility tool. So kind of exactly what is Opsis? I guess I should probably explain. So Opsis, we've been building a technology here at Coliance called Opsis. It's powered by Watson X, which is IBM's AI tooling, and really it's about unlocking that visibility in real time. As I said, we've been looking at this from the ground up as being an AI-enabled visibility tool, but it's not a monitoring tool. It's very much a business process view of your supply chain, and so therefore it's looking at all of the different things that are going to happen through the life cycle and streamline of that supply chain, so that all parties know where that data is and that they get that data faster. Obviously, through the work that we've been doing, I know that you've encouraged us to also look at AI anomaly detection, and kind of how we can go down that path towards a single pane of glass. Did you have any extra benefits there that you've seen from Opsis?
Yeah, so what I've liked about Opsis is it's not just another dashboard or data tool, right? It's a process orchestration tool, because that's usually what the problem is you run into. Been on way too many supply chain transformations where everybody gets to the room and they argue with each one. They argue because everyone's sure they have the right data set. And what Opsis does at the very baseline level, and I'll get to the AI thing in a second, because the AI is really, that's the icing on the cake. If the cake's not made right, then it's just icing. It's too sweet. But what I liked about Opsis is the process orchestration. It knows that a sales order or a purchase order has to come first, and then a response to that purchase order has multiple steps to it. So getting those out of order, you can't have the shipping before you get the confirmation of the purchase order. So really what happens is it becomes a very light layer that everybody can use to connect to, that mimics the workflow of the ERP package, whether that's from the buyer side or the seller side. And because of that...
Sorry, Chris, that it's a really good point. That's where a customer service rep or a supply chain kind of person, they're the ones there going, why is this order held up? Kind of, who's dropped the ball? Yeah, what are the risks that are emerging? So, and
if they're not seeing it in the context of their system, right, their everyday system, then they're going to be out of step with their metrics as it goes there, and the commitment that they gave to the customer. Whereas you have a certain degree of flexibility within Opsis that what you're actually setting up is an alerting system that's based on the workflow of each person's business. And really, that's before you're even putting AI in. So you get it at the baseline, you get it right. You get it so that you have taken your in-house workflow and extended it out to your delivery or your supply ecosystem, because that's really what everybody's trying to run today. And that is the first challenge. And that starting point made Opsis a little bit different from my point of view.
Okay, great. And look, from ours as well, I think it's really important that we built this from a system vendor and business process agnostic viewpoint, which means you can identify and locate those critical messages across all of your systems. It doesn't matter what ERP system you've got, or warehouse management system, or planning system. It's giving you that ability to look at agnostic business processes, agnostic systems, and even because the big thing that we always have to help customers to integrate with is legacy systems, and then there's a merger, an acquisition. You've got another legacy system that you've got to get to work. So that then, in a traditional world, puts lots of pressure on IT teams to know all of these different systems, know how all the business processes are working behind those systems. When things fail, they might not be the expert in that ERP system. They don't know where this integration came from, etc., but they need to make it work, and quickly. So
Absolutely.
I think it's what's the word? It takes the pressure off those technical teams, doesn't it? And allows people to collaborate in a good way.
It does. And the way it allows them to do that it's a bit, you've got a self-service component of connecting, right? So it's a very straightforward path to connect a limited set of data. You don't have to do all kinds of things around master data or any other kind of setups at that point. It's transactional data. So it's creating an API. So it's built to work at the speed of e-commerce. Even if your e-commerce is not all that fast, then it's not a problem. So it doesn't tax your IT departments with some kind of integration exercise. They're just saying, okay, at what point do I call this API and send my data? And that is a nice feature to begin with, to be able to put that orchestration together in the ecosystem.
Yeah, and it's going to give all parties kind of confidence, the ability to collaborate and update and report kind of what's going on, and ultimately to kind of help resolve those queries in a quick and fast way that enables good relationships and trust between your suppliers and your customers. So okay.
So you bring up something that occurred is usually once a tool like this is put in place, the biggest thing is proving an absence, right? So you've got that. We always use the marketing ways of saying, okay, well, I can see that my shipment's going to be late. Hey, that's great. Actually, proving a null is what it allows you to do. And what I mean by that is, here I send my PO to you. So I'm here to buy something from you. And I send my PO and I get a message back that my PO is received, right? And you're all good. About 3 days later, I get nothing from you. And I call you up, Stuart, where are you? What's going on in my PO? But at this point, I'm getting it because if I have an Opsis kind of a range, I've said, I have nothing. Not just that I'm late, but I have nothing.
Yeah.
And you're going, hold on, I don't have your PO. What are you talking about? Now we got a functional acknowledgement because your system shook hands with my system or vice versa and said we got it. But actually, did it get through? Did it get processed and accepted back on the workflow at the person's hands if they have to do that? Because especially as you start moving small, medium businesses, there's still touches going on. So the order acceptance area, that's a way. There's so many nulls that happen within the supply chain. It never comes from your carrier. Your carrier always gives you great data, right?
Sure.
So, but you got to be able to prove a null, and that null is what causes the biggest things in supply chain processing.
Okay. And I know, these are core areas that we're working with our partner IBM and their AI Watson X tool to help users to surface this information, to provide recommendations, to resolve that query. So, I think it's a really valid point. So, moving ahead, and in interest of time, really, we look at Opsis in kind of three pillars, three core pillars. First one being speed. So obviously we've talked about kind of how speed and kind of being able to respond quickly is going to help improve your customer satisfaction, etc., reduce delays. That's all marketing speed. What does that relate to in the real world?
So usually that's picking up right where we just with that null. How fast can I know that my order was not received by my supplier? And on the other side, if there's an error, if I can speak this morning, I'm a little few hours behind you, but if there is an area where my supplier has turned around and said, I sent you that message, you didn't get it, and what's happening with that? The faster you can solve a problem, the better off it is. And while that's obvious and sounds like motherhood and apple pie, so many people don't do it because you find in supply chain, everybody's trying to figure out what the issue is. Well, actually, the faster you get to your customer or to your supplier with, hey, we've got a problem, here's what we're doing to solve it, and this is how fast it's happening. At today's speed of business, that's the knowledge that there's something going on and you're working on it is almost as valuable as the solution.
Sure. Yeah. Makes
because
sense.
you can ameliorate an end customer. We're all now conditioned from Amazon, right? From your side of the water and mine. Oh wait, it says it's going to be 3 hours. Like, okay, I'm good with that. So we're fine with it, and we're ready to go.
Yeah. I guess kind of Opsis is allowing you to bridge that gap, really. It
is
just by offering that kind of business process first view, allows you to track your orders, track those flows, and then mapped back to those relevant business processes. So in terms of putting you on the spot here, I guess, but when clients have been looking at kind of speed increase and kind of what the benefit is to them for something like order fulfillment, what's the typical uplift that people can expect to see?
Once you can increase your speed, especially when you've got goods in the supply chain, it's all about turns, right? And so if you can fulfill more orders with less working capital sitting on the shelves in a warehouse,
sure.
That is the name of the game, right? That's what you got to do. So from that standpoint, if you can turn your capital, and what I've seen is people, when you get visibility into your first tier supplier, and depending on your type of operation, maybe even second tier supplier, you can have improvements from 7 to as high as 20%.
Wow.
In working capital. Yeah, it depends on, especially as you look at the 20% one comes in, if you can get down to second tier and you've got component pieces coming in, and let's say you're putting 3 pieces in a box to go out the door to your customer, or you want to drop ship, if you can get to second tier, you will get that high, because now at that point, you've pulled that much capital off of sitting on the shelves, and now you have it moving in a river, if you will.
Okay, so I guess Summarising, then, you're talking about the speed, being able to, I guess, spot what's going wrong in the first place, and then it obviously enforce kind of why is that happening? Should it be happening? Some governance around that, but that supplier trust and obviously the clear, significant financial and operational value that you could gain from speed of decision is brilliant. So no, fantastic. And
It's
actually, kind of moving on. Oh, sorry.
Yep.
Yeah.
No. I was saying it's that, and it's the ability. That trust is key, because now you're actually not putting so much on the shelf. You're now going to fulfill 100 orders with only 20 widgets at a time, because you're moving them fast enough. You can see everything. That is the e-commerce game, right?
Okay.
And that's what you want to try and do. You've got to have all three of these. Otherwise, all you have is a hope. And a hope's not a good plan.
No. It's interesting. You've kind of touched on a good point there in terms of trust. So the second pillar of Opsis that I wanted to talk around was around governance, and how businesses, you've kind of just touched on a point, but they underestimate the cost of SLAs and the cost of that non-compliance. Again, kind of real world and not from the marketing side, but kind of what does that look like in the real world?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different areas. The first area of governance is we love the most used piece of software out there for supply chain management is an Excel spreadsheet or a Google sheet, right? That's because there's no governance. You can do whatever you want to in it. It's a great thing. Governance is what each company lives by, because we have a certain way that our order has to go down, right? You can't do this before that. I have to have credit checks, et cetera, et cetera. So getting the governance over your ordering and your fulfillment process that you already have, and extending that out of your companies and matching them up with the partners that you have to conduct your business is key. So that means everybody's got to have their own governance within that, that replicates their ERP package, whatever size ERP package that they're working with. They may be Sage at the low end, they may be SAP at the high end. Yeah. Because we haven't even gotten into the governance running over the supply chain fulfillment. Like, what was the chain of custody? Who had it? Did it go from this trucker to that air freight forwarder to the through customs, et cetera? That's going to be the second part of governance that comes through it. But if you don't get the first one right, building trust is going to be a problem, because you don't know if who's processing the order on either side of the fence, either side of their swim lane, to do it in a way that's going to achieve the customer's expectation.
Okay. Which, again, kind of Opsis will allow you, I guess, to monitor against SLAs and kind of ensure that you're adhering to those contracted terms and conditions, and flagging where they might breach, so that you don't incur any financial penalties. So I guess it's good practice, but B, you're also going to learn so much about your systems, your customers, and avoid the risks as well. So absolutely. Great. And then the final piece I wanted to talk to you about today was just supplier trust. In terms of how Opsis is allowing you to monitor your supplier transactions, detect those anomalies, advise you where there's late shipments, pricing deviations, etc. Because obviously you're looking at a business process and when things go wrong. What would you say is kind of the real, what are customers saying around supplier trust? What does it mean to them in terms of the benefit they can get of putting an order in and ensuring that they're getting the service that they require?
Yeah, so it all depends on the customer size, and it goes back to, everybody can kind of still remember when you used to call your buddy who worked at your supplier. Yeah. Say, hey man, can you move this in the queue for me? I really need it, right? And you move it back and forth. So there was that human connection. And that created supplier trust. Well, now that you get cost pressures and scale pressures, meaning instead of just us doing a 5 or 6 orders and here's where we're at because you bought in big, large volume, let's say, and stocked it in a warehouse, that was great when cost of borrowing was low or cost of funds was low. Now it's like, yeah, we're in a different world. So you've got to still have that supplier trust, but now we're going to need to be aided by the machine because there's now just you and your buddy, but you're doing 5, 10x as many transactions, and the complexity of where they're going and how they're moving has increased. So from that supplier trust, that's what you're needing to step up and see. So that means you're going to have a lot more of the data feed in a process orchestration. And we haven't even gotten to the AI yet that lays on top and starts to say, hey, I learned from you that it's like this. And it starts to mimic that conversation, right? But supplier trust has always been there. I mean, since we did our first transaction, 2 cavemen somewhere, probably in your area of the world, they keep finding those guys in caves along the way. I don't know. Should I let this go? It's kind of the same thing. And now it has to happen all systemically. And we have to know that we have all the data in there ordered in just the right way to conduct our business.
Yeah, look, you've hit the nail on the head there, but yeah, let's be honest, AI does get thrown around a lot, and we've certainly looked at Opsis and felt there's huge advantages for enabling AI. Obviously, we're lucky, we're a gold partner of IBM, so we work with IBM and their What's Next to enable Opsis to do things. But you've seen Opsis, you've seen what we're doing with AI. Is it just a buzzword, or how do you see it? It's making a difference to day-to-day operations.
Well, I like the approach because as we talked about before, you have this process orchestration that is driven by the data within it, right? The need dates, the expected ship dates, the quantities, the line items. So that's all set. So what that means is if I'm a small company and I've got to do AI, and it's true, I mean, it's moving so quickly. As we were talking in one of our other conversations, software used to change every 1 to 3 years, right? Now it's changing 1 to 3 months. It's going that fast.
Quick.
So as you look at that, you go, okay, your approach is build that orchestration, make sure you've got the right data, because AI is just fast math on data. That's all it is. So you've already got the measurements. So that means you can start a nice plan for any small to medium business to show value very quickly instead of doing a grand AI software project. I'll tell you from implementing them, those don't work. Those work even worse than big SaaS projects, right? Instead, what you want to do is you want to take that process that you know is good, that you've got everybody linked together, and then start having agentic AI just do fast math for you. It's not real AI. It's not generative, but it's fast math across the whole thing. Hey, I did the math here, and in step number 2, you have a problem, and that's going to be a bigger problem by the time you get to step number 12. In supply chain, they call that the bullwhip effect. The further you get away, the big that thing is going, bigger that oops is going to be. So by doing that, you can let AI learn your process. And then after a period of time, you with the ML behind the scenes, you can start to get into generative. So I like that approach because it's not a big bang. It's a very value driven and value identifiable path to generative AI.
Okay, I guess that's what we've been developing. Kind of, what's the word? A sixth sense for those operation teams of kind of what's about to break. Yeah, so giving them, they've already got that gut feeling, they've got the knowledge, they've got the skill, they've got the experience. It's giving them a visual representation of that gut feeling. That's how I see we're enabling what's next. And again, kind of you brought it up, but we are certainly already on the path to agentic AI, and kind of looking at how you can, now you've detected what's going on and got the alerts, can we process it to do the task? But Yeah,
Right.
that's for another time.
It is.
I don't want to spill the beans too much. I guess, yeah, look, from my point, Opsis is, it's been out about a year now. I've got several customers on it. Yeah, they're seeing measurable savings, and measurable savings equals a competitive advantage. So I'd encourage people to get in touch with us if you'd like to find out more. Chris has been invaluable helping us to understand our market, our go-to-market, and the customers that we're trying to help using his extensive kind of business knowledge in the supply chain world. My final kind of statement as well, I guess I have to summarize this for our marketing teams in terms of with Opsis. If you could summarize kind of three advantages of what you're going to gain, what would you say they are?
I would have a hard time getting a 3. I would have to add 4. Where I would go is your speed, your governance, and the supplier trust that we talk through. That's number one, and those are kind of become table stakes for supply chain. And then in our new world is the ability to build a platform on those 3 that you can start to build AI on top of, and now you can start to get to real insights about what's going to happen further down. It's like shining your headlights further down the road, right? You'll get to that. So it's a perfect platform upon which AI can then become a real tool instead of just a promise of something in the future.
Yeah, no, nice. Chris, I really appreciate your time. We're coming to the end there. Thank you very much. I'm sure we'll be setting up another webinar in the future. So hopefully you can hear from myself and Chris again. Thank you to everyone for listening today. And thank you to Chris.
Thank you very much. Enjoyed the time.
Cheers.
Take care. Cheers.
Thanks.